Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. We are going to talk about something a little bit deep today, but it's something that needs to be addressed and something we've all gone through, we will go through. Not the most pleasant thing, but something that it's a fact of life. What are we talking about here? It is grieving. And there's many different things that we can grieve from, and we're going to get into that and how you can navigate that. And she helps people do that all the time with many different modalities, energy healing, hypnotherapy, and so much more. MyQuantumHeal.com is her website. And Dr. Cecilia Cervantes is back with us. Cecilia, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Great to be here today.
Yeah, heavy topic, but we need to talk about it. And at some point, it is going to affect everybody's life. And when we talk about grieving, it could come in many different forms. The first thing we think of is the loss of a loved one and grieving from that, right?
Yes, that's commonly what we think of, but we grieve many things. We can grieve the loss of a relationship, a divorce. We can grieve the loss of a job, or if you receive a diagnosis of a terminal illness, you can go down that road of grieving. It's a difficult thing. And how do we deal with it? How do we cope with it? Sometimes it hits us in the face all of a sudden, and we don't know what to do.
Yeah. And that's a really good point because many times it can be sudden. I don't know if it's any better if you've processed it leading up to it or if it is sudden. My gut says sudden, not as easy because you're not prepared for it. And that can go either way. It could be a relationship where you find could be a long relationship and you find out this relationship is over for whatever reason. Again, somebody could pass suddenly, totally unplanned. Do you think it's easier if like if somebody's health is declining, they're getting treated, and it looks like they're not going to be with us much longer? Do you think the grieving is easier, or it's kind of all the same?
It can be the same, especially if you don't prepare for it. If you know that someone is on the decline, they're dying or whatever, you can at least prepare for it. You know, it eventually is coming. Something's coming, and you're going to have to deal with the loss.
Right.
So there are several stages that have been recognized by various professionals. The one that's been most famous is Dr. Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grieving: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And there are others that they all kind of intermingle. Kubler-Ross developed these 5 stages in dealing with, because she was dealing with terminally ill patients. She was a Swiss American psychiatrist. And I actually met her many years ago when I was in college. She was doing a talk, and I was helping to get people into their seats. And she was this tiny little woman, wonderful person, very compassionate, very caring. And she knew that this is something that we often didn't deal with. We don't deal with it well in the Western world. Other cultures have processes where they prepare, they have rituals, they understand that they want to help. If it's a dying person, they want to help them to get to the other side in a safe manner. And so they have rituals around that. In the Western world, we are so into our life and in this fast pace, we don't think that something can happen. And then when it does happen, suddenly it's a shock to us, and we may go numb when we go into that denial phase. We don't understand what just happened, and we don't have any control. So we feel lost.
Those 5 stages again, Cecilia, what were they?
Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance.
So hearing those, they're kind of self-explanatory in many regards. Bargaining, though, I don't have that one. Can't figure that one out. What is that?
Oh, well, bargaining. And then let me just say something about these stages. People will often go through these stages while they're grieving, and hopefully they can complete their grieving at some point. And some people never quite complete it. You can start off with anger. It doesn't mean that you're going to start off with denial. You can start off with any of these stages, and these stages, you can be in these stages for any length of time, maybe short periods, maybe longer periods. Some people will stay in one of these stages for years, such as depression. But in bargaining, we realize we have no control, that we're very human, and that we want to start to bargain with maybe a higher power or someone else. We start to negotiate, make promises. I'll do better. I'll be better. I promise. It's an attempt to get back to what you had before.
Wow. Okay. Um, it's almost like you make a deal with a higher power in some regards, or you can.
Yes, you can. You can. A lot of people will resort to that. They'll say, "Oh God, if only this can be changed or different, I promise I will be a better person. I will change my life. Anything. If you will please restore what I have had, so I don't have to go through this, pain. I can't. I don't want to think about not having that person in my life, or that job, or whatever it is that we've lost."
When it's a passing of a close loved one, what are some suggestions to help with the grieving process? Is it, in terms of pictures around the house, you don't want to forget them, but maybe those memories are challenging. Any thoughts there?
Well, sometimes we need to get professional help at some point. Especially if we have gone very low. It's kind of like the dark night of the soul, and we have a sense of hopelessness. And so, especially if you feel that badly, you may want to reach out to a professional for help. There are also hotlines that you can reach out to. There are support groups, because there's no one better to help you through your process than someone who's already gone through it before.
Yeah,
They can show you that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. They've gone through this the way, the same thing that you've gone through. So that's a very good person or a very good group to get with.
absolutely. And there's so many. Facebook alone you can find, or even in your local area.
Yes.
Zoom meetings. Just people get together. Bereavement.
And they have local groups that meet in person.
Sure.
If you've had a loss of a very dear family member, or the loss of a child, it's incredibly painful, and you inevitably probably need to reach out to someone else, because it's difficult to make sense of some of the things that happen to
Right.
us.
Are there things that we should or shouldn't say to someone that suffered a loss recently?
Yes, there are things that people will say in an attempt to help them, and they may say, "I feel your pain," and unless you've gone through the same thing, you shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
You should not say that, because that might anger the person. It's like, you have no idea what I am feeling, you know. So you don't want to say that. And the best thing to do is to just be there for them, a support. Just say to them, if there's anything you need, I'm here. If you want me to just sit here quietly with you, we can do that, whatever you want. I don't know how badly you're feeling. I don't, I want to help you in any way I can. I want to be here for you. If you need a ride somewhere, whatever you need, I'm here for you. That's one of the best things you can do, so they don't feel so alone in this very dark process.
Mm. I would imagine one of the things you wouldn't say, whether you believe it or not, is I'm sure this happened for a reason. Some of us believe maybe it did, but
Yeah,
don't say that.
don't say that.
Yeah.
Don't pretend to know
Mm.
why it happened or how they feel. Don't do that. That is the wrong road to go down. You're not going to be helping them. Or some people will say, well, you need to move on. You need to get over it. You need to let go. You're not the one to decide when they need to let go or move on. That's something for them to decide. And they can work that out with a professional as well.
Just got instant feedback. This is from Terry in Gainesville, Florida, and you can always reach us instant feedback, steve@gmail.com. She says, my best friend lost her husband suddenly. They were together a long time. I know everyone is different. How long can it take for someone to grieve in a situation like this?
Again, it could take months, it could take years, sometimes years, especially if it's someone that close to them, that dear to them. That could take several years to go through this process. So you want to be patient with them and say, you need anything, whatever you want to do, you want to talk, you want to just sit and be quiet, whatever. Be patient with them and allow them to have their process. If you feel like it's something, that they may need professional help, say, look, why don't, I can help you to find a group or a person that can give you professional help, because that's not my field, and I want to do whatever I can for you.
It's unfortunate too that in a situation like Terry's friend, that some people, yeah, you were connected as a couple. Now you're not a couple anymore because of the passing. Some people are sometimes apprehensive to reach out and connect because they don't know how to deal. They don't know how to, and it comes from a good place, but that's the worst thing you could do, to just disappear when somebody's grieving.
It can be a very lonely place, when someone has passed, and they've gone through the whole process of the funeral. There's lots of people around and all of a sudden they disappear
Hmm.
afterwards, and then the loneliness sets in, and perhaps the depression, that sets in as well. You just realize that, well, it's over, it's finished, or I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, yeah. It's a loss that leads to feeling lost.
Exactly. And depression is one of those stages where you just feel, okay, I can't even bargain. There are no options here. I
Yeah.
have to live with this somehow, and yet, you feel badly. And that's when you really need that support.
The 5 stages that you gave before, Cecilia, is that for all grieving? Let's say it's grieving from a relationship as well.
Yes, it can be for grieving a relationship, a loss of a job, if you get a diagnosis of a terminal illness, divorce, all of those things.
Hmm.
It's grief, and you are grieving the loss of something that is significant in your life.
If it is a relationship, let's say long-term relationship, sudden divorce, maybe you didn't see it coming, whatever the case may be, how do you process that? I know we have the 5 stages. It's different than the loss of someone.
Yes.
Is there a different way to approach it?
Well, you can do the professional help is to understand. Well, I don't understand why they left me. It might be the question,
Right.
and it's understanding who you are and that they're a different person, and you may not find out really why, or the cause, what the cause was.
Right.
So professional help is very good here, because you have to kind of, at some point, you want to kind of collect yourself and be able to go on with your life, and understand that this doesn't mean that getting in another relationship will lead to the same thing.
Well, then you have probably trust issues there too that you're going to.
And you have to deal with these issues, these negative emotions, these limiting beliefs that are there. You have to deal with what's going on, so to really fully discover what you need to learn from this, so that you can move on. Why are you feeling stuck, and how can you be better for yourself?
Now, we talk about those limiting beliefs that go back to your childhood in dealing with a loss, whether it's a relationship or it's a loss of a loved one. Does that often come into play? That stuff that was way back in the way you deal with it?
That's how we learned to deal with it way back somewhere. We learned that from something, it might be from your parents, if your parents were divorced, or so we don't know where it came from, but somehow it's there. We want to discover and learn from it so that we can move on and we can deal and cope better with these issues in life. They're all challenges. We're going to be challenged in many ways in our life. It's something that if we can accept that and own it, and then learn to be in these spaces without it destroying us.
How about some other tips on grieving? Anything that stands out in your mind that we didn't unpack?
Well, it's taking the time, allowing it to happen, and not just stuffing things down inside yourself.
Hmm.
Sometimes we don't want to look at this. Creating something that helps you to get through it. If it's the loss of a person, uh, perhaps creating some kind of a ritual where you remember them.
Hmm. That's a great idea, and you just reminded me because my mom passed 4 years ago, and what I do every year, and I try to remember to do it. She loved raspberry Danish.
Mm,
On her birthday, we have raspberry Danish. And
that's excellent.
yeah, it's just a remembrance. It's a little something, but that kind of was her thing. But yeah, that's a great idea. It's sometimes we're afraid to do those things because we're concerned it'll bring up the pain. But many times it does the complete opposite. It's more of a comforting thing. But sometimes we're afraid to confront those things.
Exactly. If we've gone through the process and we've gotten through the pain, the memory of these people is in a different place in our brain. It's not in that acute area, that sudden shock area. It's been softened. And so it won't bring up that same pain that you had when they initially passed,
Sure.
if you've done this process in a healthy way.
Right. It is in some regards, it's PTSD when it comes back around again, isn't it? I mean, it's a trauma when somebody
It,
passes, or it's a loss of a relationship, right? It is a trauma.
it can be a trauma like a PTSD type of thing, and then that's where professional help can assist you in dealing with that in a helpful manner, where
Now,
it doesn't destroy you and bring you down that path again and you're reliving it.
you help people through many different things and discover their past and the connection to their present. Um, can you help with the grieving process in some regards?
Absolutely. Yes, and I've had my episodes where I have grieved some very dear people, and so I've gone through it, so I know what to do, and getting the professional help and going to support groups is incredible. I can tell you that it works,
Yeah.
and it allows you to pick up the pieces and, in a sense, move on with your life. You get to that acceptance phase and you realize, I have to accept this. I'm not changing this, and I need to somehow go on with my life.
It's tough to get there. I know people going through it right now, and it's been a year and a half, and it's still challenging and good days and bad days, but the support groups are so beneficial.
They're incredible. They
Yeah.
are incredible because these people have gone through what you've gone through. They know, they've been there, they have felt it. And so that you won't turn to them and say, you don't know what I'm going through, because they do.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, we go back to your loss makes you feel lost because you don't know what to do. When was the last time your spouse passed away? It's yeah. How do you handle that kind of stuff? It's uncharted waters, and also emotions that you've never felt before. You're dealing with, which I think is probably half the challenge. You're confronting brand new territory here.
Exactly. And you lose that sense of control,
Mm,
and the sense of who you are and why did this happen to me. You can go down many different rabbit holes, and somehow you have to pull yourself out.
yeah. Yep. And know that it's going to take time. It's going to take time. You got to do it in your time. But I know it's a cliche, but it will get better. It will get easier. And
It
that's
does.
one thing you don't tell somebody.
No, no. Unless you've been through it before.
Okay,
I
fair.
know that people that have gone through it before, they will tell you, I know you don't understand this right now, but
Yes.
there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You will get there, but give yourself time. Be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
And if you ever need to call someone, you can call me. This is where you can help people.
Yeah. Just be available no matter what it is. And just even if they don't call you, just knowing that you have a safety net if you need it, on any given day, night, whatever it might be, offers so much comfort. And instead of that animosity, thinking that these people just left me. We had this relationship as a couple together. I'm just using this one example, even Terry's example, and now we're not. And now, okay, so the dynamic changed, and now these people just disappear from your life. But maybe, yeah, I cut them a little bit of slack because maybe they don't know how to deal with it. But that's not that's. I hate to say it, but that's how you find out who your real friends are.
True, true. You don't want to be judged. Don't judge people. You don't want to be judged. Why would you judge someone else? Let them have their process in their own way. We all deal with stress and grief in our own ways, different ways.
Yeah.
So allow for that. Don't judge. Just be present and say, if you need anything, I'm here for you. You want to cry, you want to scream, whatever you want to do. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to be here for you and be your friend.
Yeah. So if somebody is going through this or knows somebody who is, they reach out to you, and where do you go from there? Do you determine what is the best modality to help them?
Yes, yes. I will help them with their process and help bring some understanding to what's going on, especially help them to realize that whatever they're doing is fine and that they have support and that they can get through it. We can discover what else is there that's coming up.
Hmm. Well, that's a really good point, Cecilia. There could be things from your past that have now surfaced because of this new situation. Again, uncharted territory. You're feeling emotions and anger. Maybe obviously you're angry that the situation happened, but there could have been stuff from your past that got dredged up that even fuels that anger of knowing that maybe you're alone now, you feel alone, you're grieving that process. Your website, myquantumheal.com, consultation free.
Free 20-minute consultation, and then we go from there.
Yep. Well, I can say personally, I didn't work with you on the grieving process, but just some other timeline therapies. I'll tell you right now, I told somebody this just yesterday, how beneficial it was, and the fact that we didn't have to go into detail of my early life. Not one nugget of information did I share because we didn't need to because of the way the process works. That's one particular example. Every modality is different, but you don't know until you know, and my assumption would be, well, you know what, I'm going to have to get very personal with Cecilia. And I was fine doing that, but I didn't need to. It's amazing once you learn these things, how it all works.
Yes, yeah. If we don't have to, I don't make you relive it. And it's not about the content, it's about the context.
Yep. Love that. On that note, and I think that was a great note. I thank you for being with us, and have a great weekend, and look forward next time we get a chance to get together.
Have a great week.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.